Ever get that feeling, where you walk into a place and you can just like sense the history,
Oh, absolutely.
like it's soaked into the walls? Well, the Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad, it's one of those places, at least for India. I mean, this is where Mahatma Gandhi, set up shop back in 1917, and it became this hub for the whole independence movement.
It was really more than just a place, though, isn't it? Like it almost a symbol.
Exactly. And
Oh.
that's why this whole thing with the Supreme Court and their decision on the ashram's redevelopment plan is so interesting, I think. It's not just about bricks and mortar.
Right, because if you think about it, the Sabarmati Ashram, it embodies a whole philosophy, a way of life that Gandhi was all about, right? So when you start talking about like changing the place, you're kind of messing with something fundamental to his legacy.
It's a tricky situation for sure. I mean, how do you keep a place like that, relevant?
Yeah.
How do you make it accessible to people today without losing the very thing that makes it important?
It's a dilemma we see all over the world with these historical sites. How do you balance preserving the past with the needs of the present? And in the Sabarmati Ashram's case, the government, they want to keep like 40 of the what they call core historical buildings, but they're planning on demolishing something like 200 other structures.
Wow. Okay, so what are they going to put in their place?
They're talking about adding new facilities like a cafeteria for visitors, more parking, maybe even like revitalizing the riverfront area.
I see. So less about the quiet simplicity and more about, well, I guess, more modern amenities. And this is where Tushar Gandhi, Gandhi's great-grandson, comes in, right?
Yeah, he's been pretty vocal about this whole thing.
From what I understand, his argument was that the Ashram's trust, specifically the NGSN, the National Gandhi Smarak Nidhi, should be the ones making the decisions about any kind of redevelopment,
Hmm.
to protect Gandhi's legacy from political influence and to make sure they hold on to that simplicity and frugality that the ashram represents. He's worried that all the modernization could, I don't know, it's like overshadow the soul of the place.
It really raises the question of who gets to define what preserving history actually means, right? I mean, for Tushar Gandhi, it seems like it's about, safeguarding a very specific interpretation of his great-grandfather's legacy.
It must be tough for him to watch this unfold.
But the Supreme Court, they didn't really get into the finer points of the redevelopment plan itself.
So they're not saying it's a good plan or a bad plan.
Exactly. Their decision basically boiled down to the fact that Tushar Gandhi's appeal was, well, too late. It was almost a year after the Gujarat High Court dismissed a similar plea back in September 2022.
Okay, so legally, the government can go ahead with their plan.
It seems that way.
But even though that legal battle is over, it feels like it's brought up all these bigger questions about what we truly value in a place like the Sabarmati Ashram. Can you really add all this modern infrastructure and still capture that spirit of, frugality and simplicity that Gandhi stood for? Or do you end up sacrificing something in the process?
These are the tough questions that come up all the time when you're dealing with, heritage management. I mean, there's no easy answer. People are going to have very different ideas about what's right. Some might say that, better facilities will allow way more people to connect with Gandhi's life and work.
So open it up to a wider audience.
Exactly. But then others will feel like, introducing commercial elements like a cafeteria and all that, that just like fundamentally changes the character of the place.
Right, maybe detracts from what made it special in the first place.
It's a real balancing act.
So where does this leave us? It sounds like the government's going ahead with their vision for the Sabarmati Ashram.
As of now, yes.
But it makes you think, will all of this really help people to better understand and appreciate Gandhi's legacy? Or could it end up overshadowing the very essence of the ashram, the thing that made it so important in the first place?
It's worth asking yourself, when you think about other historical sites that you've been to, where have you seen this push and pull between preservation and modernization? What felt genuine, like, an authentic way of engaging with the past? And on the flip side, what felt like, I don't know, like something was lost in the process of trying to, like, update it for today's world?
There's always a tension there. It's never easy.
No easy answers.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the story of the Sabarmati Ashram. Lots to think about for sure.
Definitely.
We'll see you next time.
Sounds good.